The day I walked into my apartment and saw my own brother kissing my bride-to-be was the day my entire belief in family, loyalty, and love shattered in front of me. Sounds like a trashy soap opera, right? Except this was my life. I'm not changing names here, because screw it, they don't deserve protecting. I'm Daniel, 28 years old, and I thought I'd found the love of my life, Emily. We'd been dating since college. We'd survived long distance, job switches, family drama, all of it. And just when I thought I was ready to build a forever with her, it turned out she was already busy building a forever with my brother Mike. The worst part? Mike was my best friend growing up. My hero. He taught me how to ride a bike, how to throw a punch, how to talk to girls without sounding like a total idiot. He was 5 years older than me, the golden child of our family, and I was always the shadow trying to catch up. And I was fine with that. I admired him, trusted him. I never thought he'd be the one to break me. It all started feeling weird about 2 months before our wedding. Emily was acting distant, snappy over tiny things, like how I folded the towels or how I breathed too loud at night. At first, I chalked it up to wedding stress, flowers, guest lists, money, you name it. But then, she started spending more and more time at my parents' place. She claimed she was getting closer to my family before becoming their daughter-in-law. I thought it was sweet. I had no clue. She was getting closer to my brother in a way no one should. One Thursday night, I came home from a long shift. I'm a paramedic, so trust me, know what heartbreak looks like. But that night, I learned what it feels like. I walked through the front door, still smelling like antiseptic and sweat, and heard giggling from the living room. I thought Emily had friends over, maybe her maid of honor, maybe even my mom, but it wasn't. I rounded the corner and saw Mike, his hands on Emily's waist, her hands on his shoulders, lips touching, laughing into each other's mouths like I was just a ghost walking through their perfect private world. And for one sickening moment, I just stood there, watching, like some twisted audience member at my own personal hell show. It was the longest 5 seconds of my life before I finally heard my own voice, raw and hoarse. What the hell? They jumped apart. Emily's face went white. Mike's face went red. And I felt every ounce of blood drain from my body. I wish I could say I screamed, broke a lamp, punched my brother's face in, but I didn't. I froze. Paramedic instincts kicked in. Weirdly enough. Check your pulse. Control your breathing. Don't pass out. Because, yeah, I was about to. Emily tried to stammer something, but Mike, my brother, held up his hand and said, "Let me explain." And that, my friends, is where this dumpster fire of a love story really begins. I couldn't even form words. I just stared at them, waiting for someone to pinch me and end the nightmare. But there was no waking up. Emily started crying immediately, mascara streaking down her cheeks like something out of a bad drama. Mike stepped in front of her, like he was protecting her from me, his own brother. "Daniel, please," he said, in that calm, patronizing voice he'd used ever since we were kids. "This isn't what it looks like." I actually laughed. Couldn't help it. That was the dumbest line in the universe. This isn't what it looks like. They were kissing. Kissing. What was I supposed to think? That they were performing CPR practice with tongue. I dropped my keys on the table and took a breath. I'd seen car accidents, overdoses, mothers losing babies. I thought I was shockproof. But nothing, absolutely nothing, prepares you to see your big brother making out with the woman you thought would be your wife. Emily tried to talk. "I didn't mean for this to happen," she sobbed. We just what?" I snapped. I could hear the rage building in my ears like a roar. "Just fell on each other's lips." Mike winced. "We were going to tell you." That made me want to punch something. Tell me, like there was ever going to be a right time to announce, "Hey bro, I'm hooking up with your bride-to-be." "How long?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. Silence. "How long?" Emily hiccuped a sob. 6 months, she whispered. 6 months. I couldn't even process that. That was longer than our engagement, which meant they'd been together before I even bought her the ring. The ring I'd saved up for while picking up night shifts, skipping meals, skipping sleep, so she could have a perfect proposal. Mike tried to close the distance between us. Hands up like I was a wild animal. Danny, man, I swear we didn't plan it. It just happened. I stepped back, because if he got any closer, I was going to break his nose. I'm not proud of that, but it was the truth. My brain felt like someone had shaken it in a jar. Words blurred together. I wanted to scream, to cry, to throw up. Maybe all three. Instead, I turned around and walked straight out the door. I didn't know where I was going. I just knew I couldn't be in that apartment one more second. Their betrayal clung to the walls like smoke. I got in my car, hands trembling on the wheel, and pulled away without a plan. No idea where to sleep. No idea what to do next. Just drive. The one thing I could control. My phone buzzed with messages from both of them, but I couldn't read them. I threw the phone on the passenger seat like it was toxic. The freeway stretched out in front of me, endless and empty. And for the first time in my life, I didn't even want to go home. I drove for what felt like hours, letting the highway swallow me. I passed gas stations, cheap motels, places I didn't even recognize. The rain had started, of course, because heartbreak stories apparently come with their own pathetic fallacy. Raindrops slapped the windshield in random rhythms, smearing the city lights into a blurry mess. I pulled off at a rest area eventually, shut the car off, sat there listening to the ticking of the cooling engine, trying to remember how to breathe. The betrayal kept looping through my head like a broken film reel. My brother, my bride-to-be, my brother, my bride-to-be, over and over. It felt so cartoonish, so grotesque, that my brain almost refused to believe it. I scrolled through my messages for the first time. Emily 11:27 p.m. Danny, please talk to Memic 11:30 p.m. Call me, bro. We need to figure this out. Figure this out? Like what? Get matching shirts for the next wedding? I turned the phone off. I couldn't handle it. I thought about my parents, about how happy they were that Emily fit right into the family. Guess they had no clue how literally she'd taken that. I wondered if I should tell them, or if they'd even believe me. After all, Mike could sell water to a drowning man. The thought made my stomach twist. Somewhere around 2 a.m., closed my eyes. Couldn't sleep, but couldn't stay awake either. I half dreamed of the proposal again, that perfect day by the lake. Emily crying happy tears, me so sure of my forever. It felt like I was mourning someone who had died, except the corpse was still breathing, still sending me texts. Around 4 a.m., I finally started the car again. Drove to my buddy Tyler's place, a guy I'd known since high school. He was the only person I trusted enough to tell. The only one who wouldn't feed me some Hallmark nonsense about maybe forgiving them someday. Tyler answered the door half asleep, hair a disaster, wearing Batman pajama pants. One look at my face, and he stepped aside without a word. I crashed on his couch, didn't even take off my shoes. Tyler sat down across from me with a beer at 4:15 in the morning, because that's the kind of friend he is. You wanna talk? He asked. I shook my head. Not yet. He just nodded, cracked open another can, and sat there with me in silence. That was the first time I'd felt safe in 24 hours. The next day, I woke up to 30+ missed calls. Emily, Mike, even my mom. I didn't answer any of them. I couldn't. I needed to breathe first, or else I was going to drown in this betrayal. Tyler, let me stay. No questions, no judgment. Just a place to collapse. In those first few days, I learned something important. Heartbreak is a physical pain. It lives in your bones, makes your chest tight, robs you of air. There's no bandage for it, no medicine. But I was determined, right then, to find a way to survive it. The morning after crashing on Tyler's couch, I felt like I'd been run over by a truck. Every muscle ached, my head was pounding, and I could still taste the bitterness of last night's shock in my mouth. But at least Tyler made coffee, strong enough to peel paint. That was the first time in days I'd felt something remotely close to okay. You ready to talk yet? He asked, sliding me a mug. I stared into the black coffee, wondering where it even began. How do you explain to someone that your own brother stole your bride-to-be? There's no handbook for that. I caught them, I finally said. Tyler raised an eyebrow. Like, caught them? Caught them? I nodded. Jesus, he sighed. Dude, I'm so sorry. I appreciated that he didn't ask if I'd done something wrong, or if Emily had seemed unhappy. No victim blaming, no fake sympathy. Just the simple, perfect words. I'm so sorry. What are you gonna do? Tyler asked after a moment. I shrugged. Honestly, I don't know. Cancel the wedding, obviously. But beyond that, he nodded slowly. Family's gonna lose their mind. That made me snort. Yeah, especially since Mike is basically the golden child. Mom's gonna have a meltdown. I picked up my phone again. So many missed calls. Voicemails piling up. I couldn't bring myself to listen to them yet. Then Tyler said something I didn't expect. You know, man, if you don't tell them, Mike might try to spin it. My stomach dropped. Of course, he would. Mike had always been good at rewriting history to suit himself. I'd seen him do it since we were kids. Break a vase, blame me, and charm mom into believing it. I took a deep breath. I guess I need to tell them first. Tyler nodded. Yeah, your side of the story, before he twists it. That day I called my parents. Hands shaking, voice cracking. I told them everything, every sickening detail. Mom sobbed on the phone. Dad was silent. The kind of silence that feels like an earthquake about to hit. We'll talk to Mike, Dad finally said. Do whatever you want, I told him. I'm done. Hanging up felt like slamming a door on the last piece of my old life. I sat there with Tyler, staring at the wall, realizing that I was free now, not in a happy sense. More like a prisoner who got out of jail only to find the world had changed while he was locked up. Emily tried calling again later that afternoon. I ignored it. Part of me wanted to answer and scream at her, ask her how she could burn everything down like that. But another part of me was just tired. So damn tired. Tyler made sure I ate something that night. Pizza. It tasted like cardboard, but at least it was food. I went to bed on his couch again, trying to picture what tomorrow would feel like. But my brain refused to see that far ahead. The next morning, I woke up with a stiff back and the world's worst headache. But at least I'd slept a few hours. Tyler was already in the kitchen making eggs, blasting some 90 seconds rock to fill the silence. It was the first time I'd felt a hint of normal since this entire disaster blew up. My phone was still blowing up with messages. Emily, Mike, even my mom again. I set it face down on the coffee table, refusing to let their words poison my fragile calm. Tyler handed me a plate. Eat, bro, he said. You're gonna need strength. I forced down a bite. I didn't taste a damn thing, but I knew he was right. So, what now? Tyler asked, leaning against the counter. I swallowed hard. I have to cancel everything. Venue, caterer, photographer. There's deposits, contracts. It's a mess. Tyler winced. Ouch. Yeah, I sighed. The wedding was supposed to be in 4 weeks. Just saying it out loud felt like a gut punch. 4 weeks from now, I was supposed to be promising forever to a woman who was hooking up with my own brother. I started making a list on a scrap of paper. Venue, flowers, band. Each word felt heavier than the last. All those dreams, all that planning, straight to the trash. Tyler offered to help. I almost laughed. He's the last person I'd trust with flower arrangements, but I appreciated the gesture. I decided to start with the venue. Called them up, voice shaking, explaining I needed to cancel. The woman on the phone tried to sound sympathetic, but I could tell she'd heard it all before. You'll lose your deposit, she said flatly. I didn't even care. I'd rather burn the money than stand there pretending to marry Emily. Next was the caterer. Same deal. Deposit gone, sympathy cold. I powered through the rest of the list, each call carving another piece out of me. By the end of the afternoon, it felt like I just attended my own funeral. Tyler stuck around the whole time, making dumb jokes to try to keep my spirits up. It half worked. Later that night, I got a text from Emily. Long, rambling, apologizing, trying to explain how confused she'd been, how safe Mike made her feel, how she never meant to hurt me. Safe. With my brother. The words made me see red. I had to toss my phone across the couch before I did something stupid, like text back. Instead, I opened a notebook and started writing. Not to Emily, not to Mike, just for me. Everything I couldn't say out loud, I poured onto paper. I ranted, I cursed, I admitted how worthless I felt. But somehow, getting it out of my head helped. I kept writing until my hand cramped. Tyler eventually made me put the pen down, shoving another beer in my hand. "You're not alone, dude," he told me. And for the first time since the world fell apart, I almost believed him. The next few days passed in a weird, numb blur. Tyler let me stay as long as I needed. No questions asked. I went through the motions of breathing, showering, trying to eat, but I felt like a ghost floating through someone else's life. Mike tried calling again. So did Emily. I still refused to pick up. I couldn't. Every time I saw their names on my screen, my stomach twisted up like barbed wire. Tyler was a champion, really. He dragged me out of the apartment for fresh air, forced me to watch dumb movies, even made me go with him to the gym to punch a heavy bag. That actually helped more than I expected, pounding the bag until my knuckles ached, imagining Mike's smug face on it. One night, about a week in, Tyler convinced me to go for a drive. We ended up parked on a bluff overlooking the city lights, the air sharp and cold. I hadn't been up there in years. "I know you feel wrecked," he told me, "but you're still here, man. Still breathing. That counts." I didn't answer right away, just stared at the skyline. Part of me wanted to disappear, to vanish into those thousands of windows and start over as someone else. Someone who hadn't been betrayed by blood and love in the same breath. "You ever think," I finally said, "that maybe I'm the problem?" Tyler snapped his head around. "Nope. Don't even go there. But what if I missed the signs? If I wasn't enough?" He shook his head hard. "Dude, she cheated. Your brother crossed a line. That's not on you. You loved her. You trusted him. That's normal. That's what family is supposed to be. They're the ones who screwed it up." I wanted to believe that. Really, I did. We sat there for a long while, no words. Just the hum of the city below. Eventually, turned to Tyler. "I'm gonna move out of my place," I said. "Probably smart," he nodded. "I'll help." We made a rough plan to pack my stuff in a few days. It felt good to at least have one piece of the puzzle I could control. That night, back at Tyler's, I actually slept. Like real sleep. Not the shallow nightmares I'd had for a week. I woke up in the morning and didn't feel like screaming. That alone felt like a small victory. My parents texted, begging me to talk. I ignored them too. I knew if I answered, they'd try to defend Mike, try to smooth it over. I wasn't ready for that. Maybe I'd never be. I took a shower that morning and looked at myself in the mirror, really looked. The guy staring back seemed older, harder, like the last week had aged me 10 years. But there was a tiny spark in his eyes, the tiniest flicker of a survivor. I decided right then. No more crying for Emily. No more thinking I wasn't good enough. They broke me, sure, but they weren't going to keep me broken. A couple days later, Tyler and I headed over to my apartment to start packing. I couldn't do it alone. The memories in those walls would have swallowed me whole. As soon as I stepped inside, the smell hit me. Emily's perfume, still clinging to the couch, the curtains, the sheets. It was like a ghost that wouldn't leave. I tried to focus on boxing up my stuff. Clothes, old photos, a couple mugs we'd picked out together. Each item felt like a gut punch. Tyler did his best to distract me with small talk, but every time I opened another drawer, I found another piece of my past with her, and the wound split open again. About an hour in, there was a knock on the door. I froze. Tyler looked through the peephole. "It's your brother," he muttered. My heart started pounding, like I'd run a marathon. I wanted to bolt. Tyler looked at me. "You want to deal with this?" I shook my head. But before I could say more, Mike opened the door. He still had a spare key. Of course, he did. "Danny," he said, stepping inside like he owned the place. Tyler planted himself between us. "Not the time, man." Mike ignored him and stared straight at me. "Danny, I need to talk to you." I gripped the edge of a moving box so hard my knuckles turned white. "There's nothing to say," I said through clenched teeth. Mike tried to do that fake sympathy face he'd always been so good at. Look, I'm sorry, alright? It just happened. We didn't mean for it, don't. I cut him off. Don't you dare stand there and play sorry. You were my brother, he sighed, acting like he was the victim. You have to believe me, Danny. I love her. That sentence snapped something inside me. I stepped closer, nose to nose. Then you can have her, I spat. But you don't get to have me too. Mike opened his mouth, but Tyler stepped in, shoving him back a little. You heard him, Tyler barked. Get out. Mike looked around, like he couldn't believe we were throwing him out of my own apartment. Then he shrugged, like none of it really mattered, and walked out without another word. I sank down on the floor, shaking, heart hammering like a jackhammer. Tyler crouched next to me. Proud of you, man, he said softly. I let out a shaky laugh. Didn't feel very strong. Doesn't matter. You stood up. We got back to packing. Slowly, painfully. The rest of the day was a blur of bubble wrap, cardboard, memories I wasn't sure what to do with. By sunset, the apartment was bare. Just walls and empty echoes. The last chapter of that life, closed. Tyler helped me load the last box into his trunk. I took one final look at that place, remembering all the good that used to live there. Then I locked the door behind me, for good. In that moment, it felt like I was taking my first real breath in weeks. Moving out felt like ripping a bandage off an open wound. It stung, but somehow, it felt cleaner. Tyler let me pile all my boxes in his guest room. No complaints. That night, he even ordered pizza and made me watch a ridiculous action movie, like he was on a personal mission to drag me out of the darkness. But when I went to bed, on that same lumpy couch, the silence got to me. It was too loud, you know? Like every single regret screamed in my head. I thought about Emily's smile, about how I'd memorized every freckle on her face. I thought about Mike, how he'd always had my back until the moment he shoved a knife in it. Sleep was impossible. At 3 a.m., I grabbed my keys and went for a drive. Empty streets, blinking yellow lights, no one around to remind me how badly I'd been broken. The hum of the tires was almost calming. I ended up by the lakeshore where I'd proposed to Emily. Yeah, I know, I'm an idiot for going there, but I couldn't help it. I had to look at it one last time. The benches were empty, the water dark and still. I stood there for a long time, breathing the cold air, trying to forgive myself for being so blind. I thought maybe if I stood there long enough, I could let go of all of it. The wedding plans, the lies, the betrayal. But that night, no magic happened. No big moment of clarity. I just felt hollow. My phone buzzed again. I'd left it on out of habit. This time, it was my mom. The text was simple. Please talk to us. We want to understand. I didn't know what there was to understand. I was the wronged one, right? Why did it feel like I still had to explain myself? I texted back, not ready yet. Then I turned the phone off and slid it back into my pocket. I sat on the same bench where Emily had once said yes to me, remembering her tears, how happy she'd looked, how certain I'd been that she was my person. The lie of it made my chest burn. Finally, after an hour, stood up and walked away from that place. For the first time, I didn't look back. I drove home to Tyler's with the windows down, letting the cold slap me awake. When I got there, Tyler was passed out on the couch. I tiptoed past him and crashed in the guest room, too wired to sleep, too tired to think. I kept replaying one thought over and over. They don't get to define me. I'd been planning my whole life around other people, pleasing Emily, idolizing Mike, bending over backwards to keep the family happy. And look where that had gotten me. Lying there in the dark, I made a quiet promise to myself. From now on, I'm going to put myself first. The next day felt like a hangover from a nightmare. I woke up on Tyler's lumpy guest bed, sunlight stabbing through the busted blinds, my mind still raw and bruised. But somewhere deep in my chest, a spark was starting to burn. A spark that said I'm done being the guy who gets walked on. Tyler made pancakes, because he'd basically turned himself into my personal chef/therapist. I was halfway through forcing down a bite when my phone buzzed again. Emily. I'd already blocked her number 3 times, but she kept finding new ways to break through burner numbers. random DMs, even sending mutual friends to talk me down. Part of me was just tired. Part of me wanted to scream, and the worst part of me still missed her. Nobody ever tells you how betrayal messes with your heart. You don't just flip a switch and stop loving someone, no matter how deep they cut you. That's what makes it so twisted. Tyler caught the look on my face. Block her again, he told me, no hesitation. Yeah, before I could even hit block, another text rolled in. Mike, please, let's talk. I miss you, bro. That nearly made me choke on the pancake, bro. Like he hadn't dropped a nuclear bomb on my life and expected me to hug it out. Tyler read over my shoulder, then shot me a look cold enough to freeze water. Block him too. And I did. There was something powerful about that. Hitting block and knowing they couldn't dig their claws into my head anymore. Later, I grabbed my gym bag and went to the boxing gym. I needed to hit something that wouldn't get me arrested. I let the heavy bag have it, over and over, each punch driving out some of the poison they'd left behind. Between rounds, I sat on the floor, sweat running down my face, and realized something I hadn't dared believe. I wasn't broken. Yeah, I was hurt. Yeah, I'd been betrayed. But I wasn't broken. I could rebuild. I could come back stronger, smarter, maybe even better than before. That afternoon, I went back to Tyler's place and started scrolling through apartment listings. I wanted a clean slate, somewhere that didn't have ghosts in the walls. The idea of picking out my own furniture, a couch that wasn't tainted by old memories, actually felt kind of exciting. Big move, Tyler said when I showed him a place. Yeah, I nodded. It's time. We clicked through the photos together, mocking the ugly carpets and weird paint colors, but it felt like progress. That night, lying on my back, I actually let myself smile for the first time since my world blew up. I could see a future that belonged to me, to Emily, to Mike, just me. And for once, that didn't feel terrifying at all. A week later, I signed a lease on a small one-bedroom place across town. It wasn't fancy creaky floors, weird paint colors, a shower that sounded like a dying walrus, but it was mine. Nobody else's memories lived there. No ghosts. No betrayal burned into the walls. Tyler helped me move in. We hauled boxes, swore at jam dresser drawers, and even laughed more than I ever thought possible after everything that happened. That day felt like crossing a finish line I never thought I'd see. My first night alone in that place was dead quiet. No Emily's toothbrush on the sink. No photos of us taped to the fridge. Just me, a pizza box, and my own damn piece. At first, that quiet felt like it might swallow me whole, but hour by hour, I realized it was healing. It meant nobody was yelling, nobody was cheating, and nobody was lying to my face. Just me, breathing, surviving. I sat on the floor with my back against a stack of boxes and let myself remember. About Mike, about Emily, about how close I'd come to throwing away my entire future for people who never deserved it. I picked up my phone, still blocked them both, and typed a note to myself. They do not define you. I don't know if I'll ever forgive them. Maybe someday, maybe never. But forgiveness is another story for another time. For now, it was enough just to leave their calls unanswered. Enough to let them live with what they'd burned to the ground. That night, I slept deeper than I had in weeks. A week later started therapy. Tyler's idea, and a good one. Turns out, talking to a stranger who doesn't sugarcoat anything can be the best medicine. The therapist reminded me of something I'd forgotten: how to be kind to myself. We worked through the shame, the anger, the heartbreak. It was brutal, it was messy, but it was real. Every day got a little easier. I learned how to cook for one, how to walk into my own place without dreading the air inside. I even picked up a book again, something I used to love. Before Emily took up every corner of my life, little by little I remembered who Daniel was. Not the broken groom, not the paramedic with the worthless ring, but a guy who laughed, who loved hard, who deserved someone loyal. And as insane as it sounds, I was almost grateful. Grateful that the truth came out before I signed that marriage license. Grateful I hadn't built my entire life on a lie. I guess that's the point of my story. You can lose everything and still find yourself again. You can get crushed, gutted, humiliated, and still stand up. So if you're hearing this right now, and you've been betrayed, or abandoned, or hurt so bad, you think you'll never breathe again, trust me, you will. You will breathe. You will stand. You will rise. If you want more stories that hit this deep, do me a favor, hit that subscribe, leave a comment, and share this with someone who needs to hear it. We heal together. We grow together. Stay strong. Your story isn't over yet.